I'm going to play a little music just to give everybody a chance to join us. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Good morning. So my friends, I want to say happy December, and I'm so glad that you are able to join here today. It's wonderful to be here. Even though we can't be here in person together, it's wonderful to be able to be with you from afar. And I do have some new friends who are joining, so I'm going to tell just a little bit about how this journey with Live Paint started. Live Paint, I created it in 1998. And the goal is to explore diversity, to look at what all humans have in common, and then to also, as I've aged, as I've gotten older, I've realized that building empathy and cultivating empathy is a huge part of what I do and why I do what I do, as well as is at the heart of diversity. I believe for us to be able to be empathetic to one another allows us to move through most of the problems that arise in our world. And so I started Live Paint in 1998, and I traveled through the Far East for about half a year and then landed in Washington State. And now we do what we do. One of the things that I do is either adapt stories or write stories, looking at those commonalities. And today is an original tale that I've written that is celebrating light. So one of the things that all around the world people have in common is they honor festivals of light. They have festivals of light in their lives that they celebrate. So what is a festival of light? When you hear those words, what does that mean to you? And why do you think humans celebrate light? A lot of times in places where it gets very cold, festivals of light will happen deep in winter. And so a question is, why do humans do that? Some festivals of light are Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, winter solstice, Loy Kraton, Las Pasado, Diwali, and Saint Lucia. And the way that light is honored can be in lots of different ways. It can be candles, it can be fire, which I don't know if you can see, but we have a little bit of fire going here. It can be lamps and electric lights. And you might be seeing a lot of electric lights on homes or in your home. So those are just some of the ways that people can celebrate light. So I wrote a song that maybe some of you here has heard before, and it's about people celebrating light. People all over the world celebrate light, blinking lights, flashing lights, candlelight. And the blinking lights, we can move our hands like this, blinking lights, flashing lights, and then candlelight can be just one finger. Candlelight. Here we go. People all over the world celebrate light, blinking lights, flashing lights, candlelight. Light can help us Light can keep us warm. Light can help us see. Light can make us feel good. Peace Now, don't blow out this candle yet, because we're going to use this candle at the end of our time together by making a wish and thinking about something we want to create in our world or see happen in our world. So take this candle and put it to the side. And now we're going to move on to our story. So this story, again, is one that I've written, and it is called Sarah's Gift, A Winter's Tale of Light. And here we go. Join me. Once upon a time, a long time ago, yet not too long ago, there was a family who had 8 children. And the eldest, her name was Sarah. She was the oldest sister of 8. And there was a mama and there was a papa, and they were about to go on a grand journey. Mama and Papa had decided they were going to move to a place called Kentucky, and they were going to live high up in the mountains and build a house and build a barn and grow crops and live. So they started their journey by covered wagon, and the wagon was pulled by 2 beautiful brown horses. One was named Chestnut and the other Maple. They also had a dog named Zachary. They all loaded into... There they went across the land in the covered wagon, and it went on and on. The journey, it felt so long. It felt longer than they had anticipated. But finally they came to Kentucky. And Mama and Papa were glad. Even though it had lasted longer than they had anticipated, they were glad that they had gotten there before winter started, because then they were able to start building their log cabin. So Mama and Papa went into the woods and they chopped down trees. And they built the cabin, and the whole family helped. And then they built a small barn for Maple and Chestnut. And then, when they were finished, luckily, that's when winter came. December 1st rolled around, and Mama and Papa were very glad because their home was done and they were warm and they had shelter and they had all the food that they needed to get through winter. And yet things this December would be very different than what they were used to. The journey had taken longer, so they had to eat more of their food than they had thought. They had gotten there late, and so they were not able to meet any of their neighbors before the winter came, and that meant their celebrations of light, or festivals of light, that December would be very different. And there were many festivals of light that they celebrated in December, and the first one being winter solstice. Now, normally for winter solstice, they would gather with neighbors and have a huge feast with all the most wonderful smelling foods, and gifts would be given, and new clothing would be given, and this year it would be different. Mama and Papa called all the children to them on December 1st, and Mama said, "Now, babies, I'm sorry to tell you this. Papa, we're both sorry, but things are going to be a little different this solstice. We're not able to do what we normally do, and we're not able to have a big feast because we've got to make sure we keep our food for winter, and we weren't able to meet any of our new neighbors, and we don't have any presents." And Mama started to get upset, and the children said, "Mama, it's okay. It's okay. Next year, next year, next year." Sarah thought a bit. She felt like there was an answer. She didn't know what it was yet, but she decided the very next day she would go out into the forest and she would see if she could find a way to help her family feel a little bit more special for Solstice Day. And so when the sun came out she put on her warmest jacket and hat and mittens and grabbed her gathering basket. And she went out to the forest and started to walk and looked at the sky and smelled the air and watched the birds. And then a red bird flew up, almost as if it was saying hello. And it flew a little bit in front of her and landed on a log. And she looked and started to say hello to it, and then she did say hello, and then it flew away. But what she noticed was that log, there was something peeking out from underneath. And she got a little closer and she put her hand out, and there was a burlap bag. And she pulled the bag up. It had been there for a very long time, and she pulled it out from inside the log, and she opened it, and she opened that bag. Right away, she knew exactly why she had come into the forest today. There was a huge, big bolt of muslin. And as soon as she saw that material, she knew exactly what she was going to do. She was going to build dolls for her brothers and her sisters. And then she looked a little bit more inside the bag, and she saw some yarn and needles and threads. And then at the very bottom, she found 5 beeswax candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 candles, the exact number they needed every year when they celebrated solstice. She was so grateful. Her eyes watered. She was so happy, and she picked up the bag and she went into the barn and she started to create dolls of all the things that she had found as she was picking items. After she had found the bag, she went and foraged, and she picked twigs, and she picked sticks and long tendrils of moss, and she even found a bush that had berries. It still had berries on it. And then she found dried rose hips and dried flower husks that when you crushed them, they smelled wonderful. And then she found a bush that her grandmother had taught her was a very special bush called a soap tree bush. And she picked those, and then she went back into the barn, and that's when she started to create. Using the muslin, she would cut it into strips and squares, and she would pack it full of the things she had foraged, and using twigs and sticks and cattails, and she would wrap it with string, and then on the face she would sew a little eye and another little eye and a little nose and a little mouth. And then on the front of each doll she embroidered the first letter of each child's name, which were O for Ollie, and R for Ronan, and A for August, and E for Emery, and J for Jude. And one had 2 letters, an E and an M. E for Ellie, and M for Moon, and then K for Kaya. When she was done, she placed them up on a shelf, and she looked at what she had created, and she was proud, and she knew they would love it, and she was so thankful that she had been able to find the things that she had just found. And then she wanted to create a gift for Mama. She picked the flower husks and the seeds, and she placed them inside a round piece of muslin, and she wrapped it with string, and then she took a rock and she tapped, and she broke those things open inside the material, so it created a sachet. She took a great big deep breath. Can you take a great big deep breath with me so you can smell that too? Oh, she could smell all the beautiful flowers that they had been. The smell was so wonderful, and she knew her mama would love it. And lastly, she picked out the soap leaf trees and the leaves, and she took those leaves and she placed them inside a piece of square muslin, and then she wrapped them up with string, and she knew Papa would love this because he had forgotten all of his shaving materials at their other home, and so far away, he had been nervous about how he was going to keep his beard down. And her grandmother had taught her that you take these leaves and you put them in your hand and you rub them under water and they create a beautiful lather. So she put all the gifts inside the bag and she tied the bag up, and next she found the pail, the old pail they used for feeding the animals, and she filled it with earth. And then she took the 5 beeswax candles and placed it inside, stuck that inside, and then she lit the wicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they were ready. She picked up the bag and slung it on her back, and she picked up the pail and she walked to the door of their house. The door creaked open, creak, and there, sitting around the fire, was Mama and Papa and her brothers and her sisters. And she then, Sarah, started to sing the song they always sang to celebrate solstice. Winter solstice is here, is here. Winter solstice is here. The shortest day of the year, the longest night of the year. Daylight will soon reappear. Winter solstice is here, is here. Winter solstice is here. Mama and Papa and the children all exclaimed, "What is this you have? Where did you find these things?" And on and on and on. And Sarah reached deep into her bag and pulled out the dolls for each of the children, and the sachets for Mama, and the soap leaves for Papa. And everyone opened their gifts and exclaimed how surprised they were and how happy they were and how on earth did this ever happen. And Sarah shared her story of the little red bird and the burlap bag and all of the things she had wanted to make sure that she was able to create for the people that she loved and to celebrate the festival of light that they loved. And then she pulled out the berries, and they sat in front of the fire and they sang songs and they ate the berries, and it was a solstice that turned out to be a pretty wonderful solstice. Now days went on as days do, and weeks went on as weeks do, and then a year came, and spring had come before, and seeds were planted and crops were grown and sold, and the next solstice they had was rather more like what they were used to, with friends and neighbors and huge feasts with many dishes and presents and presents and presents for everyone. But there was something about that first solstice in their new home high up in the mountains of Kentucky that they always remembered for the rest of their lives as being very special and very important. And they loved the gift that Sarah created. They loved the gift that love created. The end, and yet a beautiful beginning. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for sharing that story with me. I have to say that story is very meaningful to me personally. It is the first story that I've written during COVID, and it just came to me much like the bird and the story of Sarah. The same feeling of the story came. It just kind of flew to me, and I captured it to share with you. So I want to say again, thank you for everyone being here. We have a couple songs that we're going to sing, and then if you want to join a little bit later, we'll do an art project, and I'll talk about the supplies you're going to need for the art project here in just a second. For our next event, January 16th at 10 a.m., we will always have our stories on Saturday. I think Saturday stories are something that I love doing, and I hope you do too. So January 16th, and it will be a story that I also wrote that is called With My Dreams I Can Dream, With My Dreams I Can Be Me. And it's about dreams and about all the different types of dreams there are in the world, as well as the dream that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had for all of us. So that's January 16th at 10 a.m. We do have 2 more songs we're going to sing, but I just want to plug a little bit for our art project. So if you're going to join after we're done with this, I give everybody about 15 minutes to get art supplies together. And if you're an adult, you can do this too. If you don't have children in your house, you can create this. We are all children, aren't we? So it's a very simple gift that we're creating. We're making cards. And so to do this, you will need 2 sheets of paper, one brighter color, more brightly colored than the other. You can use construction paper, you can use printer paper. The colors do not matter. They don't have to be red and white. They can be any color that you want. Scissors, tape, a glue stick or tape, crayons, markers. Yeah, so those are the things that we're gonna need. And so we're gonna sing our People All Over the World song again. So grab that candle and get ready to make a wish. People all over the world celebrate light, blinking lights, flashing lights, candlelight. One more time. People all over the world celebrate light, blinking lights, flashing lights, candlelight. Okay, my friends, no matter how young or old you may be, you can do this with us. We're going to close our eyes and hold out our pretend candle, and we're going to think about something that we are wishing for, hoping for, a gift we can give to ourselves or others, and a gift can be love, as we know. So we're going to count to 3 and then blow out those candles. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Blow out your candle. Make a wish. Well done. Happy celebration of light. Happy festival of light. Whichever festival of light, if you do celebrate light in your home, I wish you a beautiful, merry season of light. And we're going to end with the very last song that I sing at the end of our events. It's People Gathering. It's another little song that I wrote. And it's always interesting to share this song during COVID because we are not able to gather the way that we would like. And just like Sarah and her family in our story, our celebrations in December are very different because of COVID than the celebrations that we are normally able to have with one another. But we still are able to celebrate in the ways that we can, and we are able to gather in the ways that we can. And one of them are doing exactly what we're doing here, seeing each other virtually. We can send cards, which we're going to make during our art project. So if you want, come back and join us. I had to plug that. We can talk on the phone. We can sing each other songs. We can tell each other jokes from afar. We can send each other letters, send each other art. There are many things we can do to gather until we can gather in person. So here we go. People gathering, that's what people do. People gathering, just like me and you. People gathering, that's what people do. People gathering, just like me and you. Just like me and you. Just like me and you. thank you, my friends. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Happy December. Happy Festival of Light to you. Merry Solstice right around the corner. And if you are going to join for art, we will come back at 10:40. Okay, my friends, have a wonderful, beautiful day. Happy Saturday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you.